Hello everyone, I have another junk journal or scrap junk journal to share with you today, and I have to say these little books that I've been making have been excellent for getting my mojo going again. I went through the last 2 or 3 months, just not knowing what to do with myself. Sometimes in life when you've had something, go on in your family, it's hard to get back in the swing of things, but these have been wonderful to get me back into crafting properly again, and using my scraps. I've just been taking down my lace scrap box and just using everything that's in there, and it's been lovely because I love my scrap box. I think it's wonderful to dig through and find little bits and pieces of treasures that you've used before, and they're not good for big projects, but they're great for things like this. And I've also like to thank, I think it's Young K, who is finally crafting on YouTube. She is a wonderful crafter and does a lot of beautiful book projects there, and she inspired me to start doing these, so I'd just like to say a big thank you to her for that. And I've been meaning to mention her in the last few videos, but you know how it gets when you get that camera going, you forget things. So there you go. Thank you so much. And I hope I pronounced your name properly. It is a little bit tricky when people are in different countries, but thank you. Okay, so this one's quite a large junk journal. It's 2 signatures, but very thick signatures, as you can see. It's done in like a Shabby Chic kind of style, and it did have 3 signatures, but I ended up removing one because it was just too big. Even this is quite big once I undo the closure. And I've made it out of a muesli bar box, and then I covered it in music paper. And then on the front I went over it with this tissue paper, which is one I bought ages and ages ago from Collections. And it's really, really nice, but I've never really used it much, so it's come in very handy. So I went over that, and then I just coated over the top of that with decoupage glue. I've used all my scraps from my scrap box on this, just bits of laces coming down, and I was actually inspired to do this by a wonderful crafter on Pinterest, and I don't have her up at the moment, so I can't say her name, but I will put a link to that in the description box below, together with Finally Crafting's YouTube channel as well. Down the spine I've put scraps of lace as well. As you can see, I've put a little grommet thing in the top of the spine and tied some tatty bits of lace and offcuts there. I've used some beautiful buttons and fleur-de-lis, which was actually bronze, but I just sort of put some pearlized paint over it. I've used some doodad flowers, which obviously are not out of the scrap box, but they're lovely to use on anything. And these tiny little white beads I've just sprinkled around and down. So that's basically all the cover is, and I like the way it's turned out. And the closure, I will show you the inside of the back cover at the end. It's just ribbons and laces all tied together. Oh, and on the front I also have this. It's a part of an old bracelet with charms on it, so I attached that to it, and some little trims that Jean Rag sent me. Thank you, Jean. Oh, and that's another thing. If you didn't know, Jean has actually started doing videos now. She has her first video up, and I think it's a different YouTube channel that she used to use for commenting on. So I'll put a link to that down below as well. Okay, so just to undo it, you just untwist all the ribbons, and I've used this as the closure, and I really don't know what it is. It might have a name, but it's one of these little things here, and see how it's got a tiny little T section underneath it. I've used one of those, and I've sewn it to the cover. So I'm going to flip through this quite quickly because these videos can take a long time if we're not careful. So I've put a bit of metal on that side and then used some leather strapping and sewn it so it's nice and sturdy and it's not going to pull through. Book pages on the inside there as well. I've used this paper, which is from, I've used the paper line before. Oh, okay, here we go. It's Sweet Paris by Dovecraft, and it's the stripy paper that I've used there. And I've just made a pocket that goes from the front of the book all the way around to the back of the book there. This particular thing here is actually a cake favour bag. I got it at a garage sale. A lady was selling them. It's like, apparently they used to put pieces of cake in it at weddings and things. I've never really seen them myself, but I thought what a lovely little pocket that will make. So I've put that in there. I have some offcuts of lace here. That's a really pretty one. It's got sequins through it. It's an old Tresors Deluxe bit of trim with pearls on it that I've put at the top there. So unless there's something specific, I'm just going to flick through the pages. That's the inside with a pocket, and they're basically decorated. I haven't overdone it. There are a lot of blank pages in this book because I actually want to write it. I was wanting to either do quotes in it, print them out from Pinterest and just stick them in. Thought that would be nice. I'll just have to be careful on the thickness. Little pocket there, it's just a bit of leftover coffee stained paper tucked in. It's just an old piece of calendar, tissue paper, two pieces stuck back to back and sewn together, bit of stenciling, a doily, more coffee dyed paper, a little pocket in there with a tag. I've used the Lindy's Cafe Latte, I think it's the Flat Fabio, on the paper. It just gives it that nice worn look, and I think that's another one as well. What was it? It could be Chateau Rose as well. Just some stamping, bits of trims just from my scrapbox, like I said, a little tuck spot, some washi tape. Finally went and bought some washi tape so I can use it. That's an old, somebody once sent me something, and that's the bag. So I just popped that in there and put this lovely little die cut. I'm just trying to remember who it's from. Lowe's. Thank you, Lowe's. She sent me a beautiful little package of very dainty die cuts, so I use that. And I've put some old trim down the center just to strengthen it, because these papers are actually from old school books, and they haven't been dyed at all. But as you can see, you know, when you take them out of another book, they get a bit weak. So I just glued some trim down there, just a couple of tags under a paper clip. There we go, just a large doily. I think Var sent me that one. This is a bag that Louise has sent me, and this little notebook is just the offcuts from the papers when I cut them down to fit into this journal. So I've just put a bit of scrap lace and embroidery on the top of them, a bit more stenciling, buttons, bits and pieces, blank paper. These little flags, I think it was Crafty Irina has a video on those. I will link that down in the description box below. Mine are very basic. It's the way I wanted them for this journal. I love this little bobble lace down the side there. I think it's absolutely adorable, and I think Louisa sent me that as well. Just some more tags and things in that pocket there. Not a lot of tags and things because it's more for using rather than decoration. Just some scrap papers. Another one of the little flags there. That one's a little bit heavier, but you know, you've got to have a bit of bling, don't you? Once again, a little bit of lace down the centre just to add a bit of strength to the papers. A couple of bits sewn together there. Old heart from Valentine's Day. This one is tissue paper, then it's pattern paper, tissue paper, and then it's some glassine paper on top. If there's one page I don't particularly like in this book, it's this one. For some reason, it just doesn't do it for me, but I never made that decision until after I bound it, and I thought, well, it's staying now. This one's not too bad. This is actually, it's a soup packet mix, and I rinsed it out and made a pocket out of it. With some vintage lace and just another little piece of coffee paper in there. Lots of places to write on in here. That's an old bag with a bit of trim on it. Love that. Old envelope, just tucked in there with a bit of lace and flowers on top. That's the scrap piece that was from the front cover, the tissue paper. I love this bit of ribbon here. It was in my scrap box, and it's just, oh, I don't know what it is, the colour. It's so shiny, it's just beautiful. There's the other side of the bag. I didn't leave it open because I thought, well, I can just write on it if I want to. Another little envelope there for putting things in. Just a die cut. I thought it was pretty, and the pink was nice for in the book because that's the only colour I've really used in there. It's pink, so but they're pretty soft pink. This is probably my favourite page for some reason. I just love that bit of scrap of lace. I just love that scrap of lace sewn on there. Something about that page. Love it. Little flag. And on the other side, the rest of the scrap of paper, another one of the things. And you know, I don't mind the lines going down. You may have noticed in the book that the lines are going down the page. That's fine. I still know how to write across the page, so I don't need the lines to follow. There's the back of it. I just added an extension so it was big enough. There's the back pocket there, and there's the rear of the book. And all I use to hold that ribbon in place is a buckle, a little shoe buckle, and put my ribbons going like that, and that gives it that firmness that it needs. And all I do is take the top one and bring it around down like that, and then get the other one and take it the opposite way and down like that, and it holds it perfectly. For some reason it reminds me of a pirate book, and I have no idea why, because it's not piratey, but it just, I don't know what it is, but it just just gives me that feeling. And it just sits on my shelf like that, all sort of messy, and I love it. I love the side of it. I love the crinkle of the papers. And what I did when I put the papers in, I sort of just scrunched them a bit and then straightened them out, and it gave it a lovely worn look. So that's my third junk journal. Thoroughly enjoying making these. I do have another one started, but it's actually not started. It's the signature I took out. I took some of them out that had pink on them and put them in here, and this is the start of, they're just little snippets I've been making. This is the start of my next one, which will be probably smaller than that, but I don't know if we'll see. Okay, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you enjoyed looking through my book, and I hope it didn't take too long. Have a lovely day, everybody. Bye.